some of the folks had even left the base and went on to our water system, which we don't have petroleum hydrocarbons in it, still complaining about the same health symptoms that they experienced while they were exposed back in 2021. So we're not sure why that's happening. It could be that that's still, that exposure, although a shorter duration, it's still in their bodies and affecting them. I'm not a medical expert on that, but I think this is something that really needs more attention. The EPA is investigating, the Navy is investigating, and the Department of Health now is getting involved. I think there's a fundamental question that needs to get answered. What is, if there is a safe level for petroleum hydrocarbons to be in drinking water that people consume? What is that level? Because that level will guide what is required of the Navy to deal with their water system, which was actually exposed firsthand to petroleum contamination. And there's no clear answer yet. They're actually going back to Navy control of the Red Hill facility, responsible for closure, taking out the remaining small amounts of fuel and sludge out of each of the 14 tanks that contain sludge, and also the permanent closure, and also long-term remediation efforts to clean up the environment. So that'll go back to the Navy. It's very important that the communities keep their eyes on this effort because with transparency comes accountability. So we should demand as a community complete transparency on this issue, not only from the military, but also from the EPA and Department of Health. And I have friends at the Department of Health and the EPA, but I think they need to be, there's an opportunity for greater transparency from those agencies. That had never happened. And I do want to compliment the Navy because they are made the decision to remove the pipelines that run from the tanks to Pearl Harbor. Each pipeline runs over a little over 3 miles, and there are 3 of those large pipelines that used to take fuel to and from Pearl Harbor. So they're going to take those pipes out. So that's a good thing. So it's going to be a lot harder for them to try to reactivate the facility for national, quote-unquote, national defense requirements. I look from the outside, I see the tension between development and restoration, traditional and customary uses, and I'll just be very frank, I don't know the answer to that. I even struggle with that here on Oʻahu, because I can see the importance of kalo cultivation, traditional and customary practices of agriculture, the lokaʻia, the fish ponds, the importance of that to our ecosystem, to culture, to food sustainability and security. But I don't know how to balance that. And sometimes when people hear me use the word balance, they immediately turn off and don't listen because that means compromise. But as a community, the reality is what we face. And as a utility manager, I serve all people. I serve all customer types in our community. And I'm trying to meet all needs with the resources that we have here. I'm sorry, I don't know the solutions in Maui. I hope that they will be able to engage in conversation that will lead to solutions. Because I've seen also on Oʻahu, and I wasn't here at the Board of Water Supply, the Waihole decision, and how a big battle that has, how some of the folks that sued us, even the Board of Water Supply in the past on the windward side, they're now good friends. And I invite them to share them out. So maybe it's trying to listen to each other's viewpoints. Is that we should not be afraid of engaging with our community, talking to people, being willing to go wherever they want us to speak or to come out into their community. We should not be afraid of that because there's great power in doing that. It mobilizes the community it helps government understand where the community is coming from and how we can work together for solutions. So community engagement and transparency is something that we shouldn't fear, be afraid, because I learned through Red Hill. We just shared whatever we knew with the community when the community was like a famine of lack of information, especially after the contamination of the Joint Base Pearl Harbor hit them. So we spoke to whoever wanted to hear us, and we shared what ike we had, what knowledge that we had with the community. So my suggestion is government should not fear, but embrace working closely with the community, engaging, communicating with the community. At least for PFAS chemicals, they did a round of tests back in September of last year, and what they found was something I don't think they expected. Not only the new versions of PFAS chemicals, but some of the older versions of PFAS chemicals, PFOS, was found at 4 or 5 different locations at pretty significant levels there around Red Hill. And also I saw a test result over at the Liamano military reservation there. There was a significant level of PFOS chemicals. So now the demand that I present to the military is the opportunity to step forward to rebuild trust to our community, because information, getting access to the information and history of that facility and the past releases has been a constant battle for the last 10 years. The opportunity is before our military to actually come clean, to share the complete experiences of what has happened at that Red Hill facility, so we know exactly what we're dealing with in terms of past releases and how we can try to clean it up. So the long-term challenge before us right now is the remediation. It's the cleanup, the locating of the contaminants that have been released out of Red Hill, and how do we address them? How do we restore the purity of our water resources, our precious vine? So I stand before you, I actually sit before you, and I appreciate the honor, but I am actually just another public servant. That it's really the honor is to our community. I would encourage all of us that go down into the career of public service to pass on the message that anybody can do this. It doesn't take an Ernest Lau, and I'm just here.